It's a very short time I'm here in Israel, in Tel Aviv. My name is Maria Sica. I'm the director of this Italian Cultural Institute, and have been posted here last September, coming from after 3 years I spent in Sweden. Since I've been here, the first event we host in our spaces, but it's also the first event after a long time because the corona has not allowed the opening of our space to the public. Tonight, we have the honor of having with us Professor B.Yehoshua. He is a beloved author in Italy, a critical conscience of Israel. He accepted our invitation to tell us about his long relationship with Italy, of which, he said in an interview, he perfectly knows the landscapes and the scents. Italy, that's part of that Mediterranean identity, we could say a human entity, with which Professor B.Yehoshua has long intertwined a history now full of memories and appendices. The opportunity is given us by the release in Italy of this book, La figlia unica, the only daughter, I tried in Hebrew, Abraham B.Yehoshua, okay? Published by Einaudi, translated by Alessandra Shomroni. The story set is in the northern part of our country, but this is the geographical context in which, through the protagonist, the 12-year-old Rachel, emerge the themes of Yehoshua's inner geography, the themes of family, identity, human bonds, and this indestructible passion for a book that accompanied the childhood of my generation, Cuore di Edmondo de Amicis. There is the incipit of this novel, which proposes immediately the central role in the story of this book. I want to read very quickly. It's the last hour of class before the Christmas holidays. Professor Emilia Gironi, who replaced another teacher on maternity for a year, and is now on her last day of work, is determined not to let her students free, if not after having finished pouring into them the candid and humanitarian spirit of Edmondo de Amicis. Cuore. The stories of Garrone, Franti, Rossi. Reading this book, they all suddenly returned to my mind, bringing me back to the age of the elementary school and the little dossier which my father bought at the newsstand every week, then bound in a big book with a blue leather cover, but the pages of the paper glossy, thick, and sharp, that blew my fingers very often as I lifted through them to read it. But Cuore is the key. It explains everything. It tells us that in the difficulties of this present, solidarity is needed, that a society cannot be called a civil if it is not based on the principles of fraternity, friendship, and on the ability to welcome and accept diversity. And so we understand immediately why, therefore, this book, which gives ethics a central space as a universal value, plays a central and constant role in Abraham B.Yehoshua's work. But this I hope our guest will tell us in a few minutes. I now wish to invite here our ambassador, Sergio Barbanti, for greeting to our guest. Thank you.
Good evening to everybody. It's a pleasure and an honor for me to be here tonight. Like Dr. Sica said, I'm also new to Israel. I arrived 2 months ago, and this is one of my first public appearances. Special occasion tonight. I usually get worried when I see somebody walking to the podium with many papers in their hand, that there are going to be endless speeches, but I'm known for the fact that I never follow what it has been written. What I would like to refer to is still taking some of the considerations which was okay. Another story, I mean, besides the story of this book, which we're talking about, the story of the story of the book. A little more than one story. So the story may be of the relationship of Professor Yehoshua with Italy, and of the mystery that then binds us to countries and to places. We belong to a country, usually the country we are born in, and but then through our lives, I think we at least look for another country, which is the country of our election, the country of our choice. We don't know what we are driven in the search of this other country. So I don't know which mystery will choose to be so close to Italy. I'm sure you traveled in many other countries, and you met both many nationals of different countries. Maybe we shouldn't even ask this question too much and to try to rationalize this. In this, I'm quoting what Margaret said, and not quote the quote which we had prepared tonight, but a different quote in a book called Infinito Viaggiare, Infinite Traveling. At a certain point, he quotes T.S. Eliot, actually, in the point, by saying that the point of our traveling is to go back to the place we started from and see it for the first time. Now, that I think it's quite true, especially for people like me who are diplomats, so we spend our life traveling and our life wanting to know places, but if that is the end of our travel, it is also true that during our travel we discover countries to which we are attached to. So the point of traveling in this respect, it is both to go back to where you start from and see it from the first time, but also to see places where you have never been before and to feel strangely at home, to find those places familiar. We are deeply honored that in this case, Italy is a place that touched your heart, and I think also touched your soul, because the heart is not enough when you have to be creative. The story was more or less highlighted. The book is something we all grew up with, and it's part of our memories, also of our emotional memories, because we all got moved when we were young by reading the stories which are contained in the book. I think it's also very important that you raise the issue of religion. The etymology of the word religion, it means to bind things together. I think that in addition to the man being a political animal, I think that the man is a religious animal, even if he is atheist. And so the issue of how we relate to the mystery, which is partly also raised in the book, I think is an issue which touches us also directly. So again, I would like to thank also those who are here tonight, and those who are watching here with us, but especially you for finding the time and having the passion to share this night with us. Thank you very much.
I will stay sitting.
Yeah, sure. You can stay.
The proof of my love and my commitment to Italy can be seen by the fact that I'm ill, and still I accept this invitation and I came. Generally, I'm not going out from home, but when Maria came from Sweden and say, come and honor me for the first activities that I will do, and especially because the book itself was published already in Italy for about a month ago, and it is selling very good, and already there is a company of film who had signed a contract to do for this book, and perhaps a continuation, a kind of a series of 3 or 4 films. I would like to speak a little bit about the origin of this book, how it was coming and what was happening. But before I want to say something about Italy and Israel. Italy was ally of Germany Nazi. This is a fact. And still, there is an attitude from the Israelis and the Jews of acceptance, and nobody was saying anything about Italy in the Second World War. It is strange. Why? The reason was the fact that, first of all, in the middle of the war, Italy changed sides and was fighting against Germany. And secondly, perhaps the Jewish community in Italy itself was quite forgivable and did not come like I see in Poland or in other countries, repeating all the time what was happening. There was an attitude, because till the beginning of the war, Italy was in a certain way with the race laws, with all this, they felt that Italy is in our side. I don't know why. I remember the Italian professors. One is of my family, who was coming in 1939 when they had been taken out from the universities. Intellectuals, fine intellectuals, Bonaventura, Tedeschi, Bacchi, Sergio della Pergola, afterwards he was coming from this family. All these fine, wonderful intellectuals that also had this wonderful synagogue, Italian synagogue in the middle of Jerusalem, and immediately people were seeing them as the best of the intellectuals, the Jewish intellectuals in the world, coming to join us. I know Bonaventura, only I know his son. He was killed in the War of Independence, but he was founding the psychoanalysis, the theory of psychoanalysis in the University of Jerusalem. Why there was a so small Jewish community in Italy? Why there were not more Jews in Italy? I'm speaking about the other centuries. A special relationship with Italy was, I think, from the days of Rome, from the fact that the Jews were one of the most ancient Jewish community already outside Israel, already when the temple was here, Very complex kind of relationship, and always there was a kind of acceptance of Italy, importance of Italy, and not feeling hostility. Of course there was anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism was everywhere, etc. But Italy was a different story. The ghetto in Venice, the most ancient ghetto, I think, Jewish ghetto in the world. I think that till now, the relationship between Jews and Italy was not explored, was not understood totally. There is still a ground to understand it. I am giving this background because during the Second World War, when I was a child, we were speaking about the war, about Germany, about all these things, about the horrible. Italy was always aside. And from the beginning, after the war, when Israel was putting boycott on Spain because of attitude of Franco to support Hitler and support Germany, Italy was from the beginning aside, was apart, was not under this boycott. I put this background because when we were speaking about Italy, just after the state was created, always it was speaking about a country. Of course, there was a past, there was something problematic, but never there was a hate. Never there was something that rejected Italy, on the contrary. I say it because from the beginning, when we were the writers of Israel, the young writers, in the 60s, just I will try to avoid when there was the questions of publishing, translation, and we started to be translated, it was mainly in the middle of the 60s, and especially after the 6-Day War, when publishers and other cultural institutions were asking to understand Israel after the great victory of 67, Italy was saying, no, we were rejected. We were accepted by Sweden, by Denmark, by Holland, of course, South America, I'm not speaking about France, etc. But Italy was not so hasty to take the works of the Israelis. And I remember that Einaudi, that afterwards had sold 1 million copies of my work, had rejected my work. And the same people that afterwards were becoming the most dear friend of me and dear participants in my activity, literary activity in Italy, and the other people had rejected our works. Why there was the change? And when came the change? This was due to the fact that there was a department in Bar Ilan University, a department run by Professor Rachel Weisbrod. I don't know if she's here.
Yes, I'm here.
Here she is. And Rachel had done a special department in all the universities in Israel that is dealing with trying to analyze why in a certain country there is an acceptance of foreign literature or a special foreign literature, and why in another country they are totally rejected. What is the symbiosis in accepting foreign literature, whatever, not only literature, music, also plays, also other things. Why in a certain country there is an acceptance of this foreign literature or foreign culture, and why in another country there is no acceptance? And Italy in the 60s were rejecting or not declining to get Israeli culture, whatever it was. What is the reason of the change that was coming? Why there is in a certain time that a country is accepting literature and other things that are coming from foreign country, and especially Italy, the relationship between Italy and Israel. And she had students in her department who read my books and knew my books very well, and she said, okay, I will try to understand what was the breakthrough of the Israeli literature in Italy, and I will try to examine it through the work of A.B. Yehoshua. And this was her doctorate subject, and Professor Weisborn had encouraged her to do it and were also inspecting this work. It was called, the department was called the tradition, or not, the tradition and the possibility of inquiry, the fact of the tradition. On a certain time, she was advising her student to come and to question and to do an inquiry with the author himself. The author is still alive, you have a chance. Generally, such authors already are gone. He's still alive. Come and speak about the relationship with Italy. What was happening? And when Sarah came to me and spoke about and tried to understand my special relationship with Italy, she also gave the reason why there was this breakthrough in the 80s. It was taking a long time until the 80s when there was this breakthrough of the Hebrew literature in Italy. It was done by, I think, David Grossman, with his book, Sea Under Love, that was accepted, and other publishers said, okay, if Grossman have done this breakthrough, there is something in the Hebrew literature that can be of great interest for the Italian public. Because in Italy there are not so many Jews. Generally, when people are selling our books in England or in France or even in America, they depend on the fact that in these places there is a Jewish community that is interested in what the Jews, in what the Israelis are doing. But in Italy there are, I think, 30,000 or 40,000 Jews, that's all. And not all of them are so interested in literature. So, what? Not at all.
Not everybody.
Anyhow, they cannot depend on the interest of the Jews in Italy to read Israeli literature. Sarah was inquiring and tried to understand the reasons through very, very also new and sophisticated and normal or modern terms of inquiry in world literature. And it was done because I don't want now to return to all the theses that was accepted and got a very high degree in the University of Bar-Ilan, but it was done because, first of all, they have seen that the young Israeli writers are daring to criticize the government of Israel, to criticize the policy of Israel after the Six-Day War, when it was coming to the questions of the settlement, of the war in Lebanon. So, first of all, they saw new generation in Israel, young generations, the best intellectuals who are not afraid of criticizing the government, etc. And also the fact that there was the questions of the evocation of the race laws that were in the time in Italy, in the war, the evocation in Italy that was putting the Jewish problem on the desk, on the table, in more, I would say, courageous one. Italy was speaking about it. As you know, the Jewish left, Natalie Ginsburg, Primo Levi, and some of them were not at all pro-Zionist, were not at all pro-Zionist. Even they never came here. And they never wanted to attach themselves to Zionism in a certain way. So the way in which those elements were coming to the Italian conscience had opened, for example, Einaudi to say, okay, we will take B.Yehoshua, we'll take other Fertinelli to Camus Rose, I think, etc. And of course, David Grossman was one of the leaders of this breakthrough. So, when Sarah came, Sarah did not want to come to speak with the author. All the time people are moving here. She did not say, but I can say to her, speak with the author. Perhaps you will get some things that you haven't seen through the writing of your thesis yourself. Because Sarah was concentrating in 3 of my books, A Late Divorce, The Liberated Bride, and the 3rd book was Journey to the End of the Millennium. Some of the books, some of the many books that have been translated and were published in Italy. When a student is coming to interview me, I started to inquire and interview him. And I thought to understand where she came, what her, she was already 20 years in Israel. Her Hebrew is fluent, and she knows all the terms of the Israeli society and Israeli culture. And I asked her about her life. In fact, she's coming from a, what we call mixed marriages. Her mother was Catholic, but converted to Judaism. Her father is coming from a family who is a long time. The sources are coming also from the Holocaust. Part of it was exterminated in the Holocaust. Her father, of course, is Jewish. And the fact of mixed marriages is a very important element now in the Jewish world. I can say that about 50%, perhaps, or less, 40% of the families in the Jewish community abroad is of mixed marriages. What is mixed marriages? how it functions, what is happening. There are mixed marriages, of course, in which one of the partner is converted, generally to Judaism. But there are those who are remaining Christian and Jew. What is the children? How the children are functioning? So she told me the story that was the spark of this novella. The fact that at the age of 11 and a half, she was chosen to play the Madonna in school. She knew the role, she knew how to do it, and she was chosen to do it. But her father had forbid her to do it. And today I think it is the day of the Madonna, yes? So we choose a special day of the Madonna. And the fact that her father said, no, you will not play the Madonna. I think she said, why? It is a play in school. I was chosen, and I know the role, and I can do it. Why I will not be able to do it? It is all a play. No, you will not do it. Her father is also in. And the book is started by the fact that she was called by the headmaster of the school not to return home, but to return to the office of her grandfather. Her father and her grandfather are lawyers and working together, and because her father and mother are in Venice, still in the hospital in the examination. So these were two elements that were started to move the book. The malady of the father, a serious malady of cancer in the head, and the anger against the father who forbid her to play the Madonna. I have to say the questions of Christianity. For me, Christianity and also Islam is sources of attraction. When I was here, we were going to churches, to other sites of Christians. When my wife and myself was in Italy or in other places, immediately we were going to see churches, to enter and to visit churches. I remember, and this is very funny, when I was teaching for 2 weeks in Rome, in University number 4, the university was afraid, it was the time of the Intifada, they were afraid that someone will hurt me as an Israeli, so they asked the Roman police to guard me, to escort me, to be everything. So what I was asking, so I had an escort. The police was with me, coming to every place. The police, I have my car, the car of the university, and the car of the police. I asked my friend Pietro Citate, I know him, who wrote many articles about my work. I asked him to give me 10 names of the best, the most beautiful churches in Rome. He gave me. And then I said to the police, take me to these churches. And the policeman I saw said for most of the policemen, it was the first time that they were entering these churches. There were policemen in Rome and never were entering. And they were saying, how beautiful here, the churches. And they were even gratitude to me by the fact that say, you brought us to see something in Rome that we did not imagine that there is some wonder in Rome. Policemen of Rome. The church, the Christianity, because I knew I'm a Jewish, I'm an Israeli. I'm in Israel, I have my total identity. So I'm not afraid that Christianity will take me, will invade into me. I wanted to see Christianity and of course the wonderful churches, the wonderful what is happening. What is happening there? You cannot imagine, I say to the Italian, you are not imagining what wonder you have just near your house. So, but when I put Rakele, the figure of the only child, the hero of the only child, when I put her in a church, Sarah was saying, she will not go to church. She will be reluctant to be in church. And when I put a rabbi in the carnival in Venice to go and to see a church there, she said, never a rabbi will enter a church. I said to her, don't say never. Never. I had seen in literature, never say never. Always you can take your hero, your protagonist to the most strange places and he will do it. I don't want to speak about the book anyhow, you can read it. And I think that the book is doing very well in Italy. And I'm so proud that I could do a whole book about a girl of 12 years old. 12 years old. The last time I wrote about a girl of 12 years old, even more, 14 years old, was the Duffy in The Lover. I don't know if you remember The Lover, but in The Lover there are 6 protagonists, and one of the protagonists is Duffy, who are saying her monologue. I could enter to the soul of this girl that is between the two religions, the two identities. Jews are born with problem of identity. If you will ask yourself, what is the problem of the Jews? What is the major problem of the Jews? Identity. Identity. What is their identity? What is the border of their identity? All the time the questions of identity. In the English literature is the question of classes. What is the distance between classes? In France is the questions of the relation between men and women. What is the relation? All the problems are, even the detective stories are coming through the problem of men and women. In America is always the open border that you have, the individual have to conquer. The Jews' problem of identity. I don't know what is the problem of the Italian. What is the major problem that is directing the Italian literature? I don't know to repeat the time, we had passed the time, I would like to finish. I base the book also on the book, the core, the heart of the Mises. People are saying the heart is a forgotten book. It is a book from the 19th century. It is an old book. Even when the old teachers say to Rakele, you have now to read 2 stories and compare between them, She said, what the heart? We have done it in early classes to return to the power of the heart of the Mitzis is still alive. And I saw it. And when I spoke to the director who will do the film on this book, I said to him the two passages that are taken in the book about from the heart, these two passages, you will do it as they are in the 19th century. So you will change the decor, you will put it in a way in which it will be as it will be in the 19th century. I love Italy. Because I know English and French, I can manage in Italy without it, the language itself, and this is my great mistake. I was lazy to learn the Italian language. But what can I do? All the people around me in the publishing house and other speaks all French or English, and I can manage to go along with them. But Italy is beautiful. Italy is important. And I was speaking to your ambassador, the new ambassador. I gave him already a mission. Italy must be more involved in the Middle East conflict, and especially in the questions of Jerusalem, the old city, and the Mount Temple place. Italy has to come and say, in the name of Christianity, and in the name of the Vatican and Christianity, they have to say to the Israelis and the Palestinians, we are also partners in the solution of the Mount Temple, of this place, in which the holy place of the Jews, the most holy place of the Jews, and the third holy place of the Muslims, and the Christians are there also. Problem. And if there will be a bit of fire there, this can be a catastrophe. So the Italian can come and say, we are the third partner, Christian, in the name of Christianity. So you will not just organize nice lectures, nice exhibitions, and nice things like that. You have to do and speak to the Prime Minister, etc. You say to them, we want a solution, a kind of a solution, an honest solution, that we will help you to be part of. And when this will be like the Vatican, and I have a name of it, and the Israelis will understand the name, Vatican. Vatican meaning my religion is here. Which religion? Christianity, Islam, Judaism. Vatican. And Vatican will be a competition to the Vatican, and tourists will come here, and the Italian will be masters of this thing. So, thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much, Professor Yehoshua, for your amazing lecture. I just have a few more minutes because tomorrow is your birthday, right? And we want to celebrate with you. I asked the cast of our, yeah? We have a typical Italian birthday cake. Okay, you can pour a cinco, and we want to celebrate your anniversary.
Yes.